All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Pam Encinas, and I'm the Development Coordinator at the IRC in Denver. Thank you so much for joining us tonight for our day 2 of our Refugees in the Arts week-long of virtual events. We're excited you could be here with us. I will be the moderator this evening for all the questions you guys have about the documentary you're able to view beforehand. And with us as panelists, we have Bridget, the film director, and Murray, who's with us with the IRC in Denver. And we will have one more participant joining us, Saba, who is one of our amazing Syrian clients in the We Can Do It program. Murray, would you like to introduce yourself and say a little more about our We Can Do It series?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the second day. Pam, there's an echo. Yeah, I think. Thank you. Thank you for joining us for the second day in Refugees in the Art event. We're very happy to have Bridget with us tonight and to discuss her wonderful movie. I know some of you were with us yesterday, but for those who were not, a quick introduction. My name is Mireille Bakos. I'm the psychosocial support specialist at the IRC. And the Refugees in the Art event is celebrating the refugees and art, and specifically the We Can Do It program. So quickly, the We Can Do It program is a program that started in 2019, has been running for 3 years now. It's part of the psychosocial support services that the IRC in Denver is offering. So the We Can Do It uses different tools and mediums to foster holistic well-being and to prevent the risk of developing mental health problems. It also helps participants process their traumas, overcome psychosocial challenges that may be caused by the displacement. It also aims to rebuild lost social structure, communities, foster resilience, self-care, and communal care. So the program uses alternative ways and mediums to help women process their experiences, including, for example, painting, theater, drawing, singing, pottery, storytelling, photography, etc. And this is why we thought that We Are Not Princesses, Bridget's movie, is great because for this event, because first it talks about the refugees experience, especially the Syrian experience, and you all know that we serve a lot of Syrian clients at the IRC in Denver. Also because it talks about how in Beirut, theater was used as a tool, as a medium for this holistic well-being, to give women tools to process their traumas, share their stories, which is a little similar of what we're trying to do in We Can Do It. So Sabah is with us now. Hi, Sabah.
I'm here.
Okay, so maybe Sabah, so I'll be translating for Sabah the questions that will be for her, and I'll give her now a few minutes to introduce herself in any language she prefers. Sabah, would you like to introduce yourself to the people that are watching us in any language you prefer? If you want Arabic, I can translate as well, or if you want to move between both.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Sabah Al-Mubarak. I am from Syria. I am city Aleppo. I have 7 kids. ميري رح أكمل الباقي بالعربي.
Okay.
أنا لي هون بأمريكا 4 سنين ونص، وكنت عايشة في تركيا 3 سنوات، وصار لي تقريبا قريب 8 سنوات طلع من سوريا.
Okay, so Sabah left Syria around 8 years ago. She stayed in Turkey for 4 years and then moved to the US and has been living here for 3 years now, around 3 years. And as she said, she's from Aleppo and she has 7 kids. Thank you, Sabah. And Sabah, she was with We Can Do It since the beginning. So she went through the 3 cycles of the program with the different forms and different mediums we used. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Sabah.
Great, thank you both. Bridget, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Bridget Auger. I'm the director of We Are Not Princesses, and I live in Mississippi now. I have 2 kids. One is very recently born, just a few weeks ago, so I feel like I'm not at my sharpest, but I'm very happy to be here and to discuss all these topics that are very dear to my heart. And I look forward to our conversation.
Wonderful. Thank you. Well, thank you all for being here. Audience, feel free to post any questions you have in the YouTube chat as they pop up, and we'll keep an eye on that. And some of you did submit questions beforehand, so we have those in front of us. And I will get started. So just to kick us off, Bridget, could you tell us a little more about your background in film and what led you to produce this film in particular?
Sure. I actually had a background in still photography, and I moved to Syria in 2008 before any of the recent conflict. And I worked for UNHCR when the Iraqi refugees there were almost 2 million Iraqi refugees in Damascus and in Syria at that time. So I worked as a staff photographer for UNHCR, and I did a book with them, and we looked at refugee issues from many sides. And I had many friends who lived in Syria, and then later I ended up living in Egypt and in Beirut. And Atab, my co-directing partner on this film, was living in London, and she came to me and said, I'm doing this theater workshop with women, and I would love for you to come and let's just film and we'll kind of see what happens. And I was really burnt out being a photojournalist, just covering this sad refugee story. And I was making a living actually as a real estate agent because I couldn't bear to just go to refugee camps and, toe that sad story. And so when she approached me with this project, I was thrilled. And that's where we started.
Great. Let's see here. So we had one person mention just about the power of the stories and like how strong the stories and the women are in the film. Could you share more about their initial reaction to sharing those intimate details on camera?
Sure. We filmed this in 2014, and during that time, it was the women were realizing that they weren't going to go back to Syria anytime soon. Before that time, they were kind of thought they were coming for a few weeks, a few months, maybe a little bit longer. And so there was a lot of mistrust. They didn't know who this camera was, what they wanted, what we were pro-regime, anti-regime, all the different sides of the war and conflict. And so there was a lot of mistrust and a lot of fear, and people did not feel safe speaking out about their stories, about their names, or being on camera. So I spent, a lot of time just really just being there and talking to the women. And if some people did not want to be filmed, I said, no problem. And gradually there, emerged a group of women who wanted to be on camera, wanted to tell their stories. And those were the women that we followed. And, we used animation to tell some stories of women whose faces weren't allowed to be filmed. And so that was one of the reasons, that was one way that we were able to tell some of those stories.
Great. And Murray, being the staff in charge of We Can Do It, you did show this film during one of your programming sessions, and Sabah has seen it. Could you and Sabah both share more about the experience of sharing it with the women and how they were able to relate to it? Sabah, how were you able to relate to the movie?
Yeah, صباح هلا أترجم لك شقفة السؤال. So yes, I contacted Bridget in 2019. It was the beginning of the second cycle of We Can Do It. It was in person at that time, and I thought that it would be a great beginning for the program because we were willing to also offer a mini theater workshop. The women, in addition to the photography and the singing and the dancing and all the expressive art we were doing that year. And yes, this is how we kicked off the second season. So we were together, we had a projector, all the women watched it. We had interpreters for the women that did not speak Arabic or English. And it's interesting because, you know, the story talks about the Syrian experience and the Syrian women that were forced to leave, but it resonated with all the women that were watching it, the ones that were from Somalia and the DRC and Ethiopia and all the, you know, Afghanistan. They all were able to find a lot of connections to the movie. And, you know, it has like those beautiful, happy moments and this very sad moments. And it's interesting to watch it with a group of refugee women that, you know, the sad moments where we would cry together, but then after directly we would like rise up again with like the energy of like another woman showing her strength and her resilience and stories. So it was a very interesting beginning and for the second season. And صباح السؤال هو من بعد ما حضرت الفيلم شو بتحسي انه انت بيربطك، يعني قدرت تشوفي حالك بهود النسوان، تشوفي انه بيشبهوكي او القصه بتشبه لك؟
طبعا لما حضرت الفيلم طبعا حسيت اني في كتير شبه مني، خاصة يعني لما حدا بيهتم فيكي وحدا بيقول لك مثلا شو هي الأفكار اللي عندك أو شو بتحبي. يعني نحن بمجتمعنا ما في هذا الشيء، فكتير لقيته شيء حلو. حتى النسوان يمكن انتبهتي بأول الفيلم كانوا عم بيقولوا لما سمعنا في شيء اسمه مسرحية، يعني كان شيء غريب بالنسبة لهم. ويعني حسيت اني فعلا مثل لما جيت انا على امريكا مثلا بيقولوا لي فيكي تدرسي، فيكي تسوقي، فيكي تعملي كتير اشياء، حتى فيكي تدخلي الجامعة. وات شو يعني؟ يعني كان بالنسبة لي شيء غريب يعني. فمشان هيك حسيت ان هن كتير قراب مني. طبعا بسبب كمان الظروف مرت علينا كلياتنا. انا اسفة اني طولت كتير بالحكي.
Thank you. وأنا عم بكتب تما أنسى شو قلتي. So after asking Sabah if she relates to the movie, how she relates to the movie and to the woman in the movie, Sabah said that when she watched it, she felt there's a lot of resemblance between her and those women, especially when someone come and ask you about your ideas, about what you love, about your dream. Like this space that usually she wasn't used to in Syria. People used to tell her, you know, you could drive, you could study, you go to university. And it was for her like, whoa, like she never really thought that this is something she could do, which is similar to what the woman expressed in the movie when they said in the beginning that, oh, they heard about a play and they got curious and it's like, oh, maybe I could do this too. And this new space is what made her very relate to the woman. And of course, she said the whole story being also a Syrian refugee woman that lived the same experience. Thank you, Sabah.
Yeah, thank you. To follow up on that a little bit, and since you mentioned the theater performance, we do have a question. Sabah, would you ever like to be in a theater performance like the one in the film?
في سؤال صباح، هل بتحب تكوني بمسرحية تدرسي وتجربي المسرح مثل النسوان اللي كانوا بالفيلم؟ Pam, I think you're giving an echo. I don't know when yeah, just you and me for some reason. Thank you. So صباح بتحب تجربي هالتجربة، تجربة المسرح اللي النسوان مرقوا فيها بالفيلم؟
ما بعرف يعني هذا سؤال غريب بالنسبة لي. ما بعرف.
Sabah said she's not very sure. It's like a little weird question for her and she doesn't know how to answer it. That's okay.
We also have the question of, does the theater group still exist and how has it evolved?
The group of women, or do you mean the company that put it on?
I believe the group women and their engagement in it.
The women are now scattered all over the world. As you see in the end of the film, there I have that echo too. I think if you mute yourself, Pam.
Pam, yeah, thank
Um, so the women, I mean, you see at the end of the film that there's women in Germany and in Sweden, and some are still in Beirut. So some of the women are still there and still friends with each other, but their group does not exist. But what does exist is that Atab, my directing partner, has an organization called Sabara, and they have a knitting club, and they make these gorgeous embroidered goods that they sell on their website, and so Mona, who's in the film, is earning all this income, and she's managing the group, and she's very happy doing that right now. Her daughter had an accident and needed a lot of medical care, and so she's using all her earnings to cover that. But so there are projects that we're doing, just not a theater. They're not involved in theater right now. But we have gone back, and we did another theater workshop. That was 2015. We did a second workshop where the women actually wrote the play. It was much more experimental and collaborative. And so, and I'm still in touch with them.
Bridget, where did they show this play? Where did they perform, and to whom?
They performed in Hamra.
Okay.
At the main theater in Beirut, and it was performed, I believe, 5 nights to sold out audience.
Okay, so open
we
for
asked
public.
them actually, we asked them if they wanted to perform it in the camps, but the women declined. They said that they thought that it was better performed in a theater.
Nice, thank you.
Great, thank you. Now I would like to ask if you could share more about how the filming affected you personally.
Oh,
and maybe what you took away from it.
Definitely. There's this quote that Mona has about being a mother, and everybody wants to be Antigone, but when you have your children to look after, you don't have the privilege of just standing up for your values and doing whatever and risking your own life. And I totally resonated with that. I was an unmarried and had no children at that time, and the women spent a lot of time telling me if I wore more makeup, then I could solve my problem of not being married. But so I thought that every woman should be Antigone, that you should just stand up for what you believe at whatever cost and risk your life. And now that I have a family, I resonate with what Mona said, that it's not that easy. It's much more complicated, and you have to think of what's best for your family. But also, in another vein, at that time, I had been living in the Middle East for a while, and as I said, covering the Syrian conflict and the refugee issues, and I had covered the Arab Spring, and I was living in Cairo before, and I was burnt out. I was very much like, there's no goodness left in the world. Look at all the bad things that are happening. And it was being with these women every day who said, Bridget, why aren't you married yet? Today, are you married? Come on, we really need to solve this problem. They made me laugh every single day. And they had been through these unspeakable traumas. And here they were, just like caring deeply for me. And I still talk to Mona on a regular basis, and she gives me parenting advice, but it was just like they showed me that there is goodness and joy in the world, and reminded me that, and brought me out of my burnout. It was just being with them and watching them find their joy again. It was intensely healing for me as well.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. I do have a question. Why did you choose to highlight only women in the documentary?
Why did we choose to? Well, Aitab is the one who put on the theater workshop. She produced it with Hal Scardino, who they are the two people behind Open Art Productions. And they wanted to, well, Aitab wanted to work with women to give them an opportunity to, there's a big problem with being a refugee. I know Sabah can speak to this better than me, is boredom, and there's not a lot to do, and there's not a lot of space for community and coming together and meeting people, and there's so much fear of like who you're talking to. So having a way to come together and have community was a really important, especially, you know, there's the saying, if you can heal the mother, you can heal the whole family. And I think that was really true for the women in our workshop. They finally, I mean, they had been on, you know, like burning the candle at both ends, just trying to survive. And now they arrived in Beirut and were relatively safe. Okay, I'm going to say relative, but they had like a pause and then there's nothing to do. And all their trauma was coming up and they had no one to speak to, and they had to take care of their families and worry about where the next meal was coming from. And there was just a lot of stress and a lot of pressure and a lot of loneliness. And Aitab herself is Syrian, and she knew this, and she wanted just to provide this community and this healing for women so that they could then work to heal their own families.
That's great. And we just got a great follow-up question to that. Did you intend to showcase the film in a feminist lens?
In a feminist lens?
Mm-hmm. Or did it sort of just come through that way because you're offering this empowering opportunity to women?
Yes, I guess we did. I mean, I guess we did. I feel like when I show this to, especially a Western audience, people say, "Oh, I didn't know that women in hijab spoke like, could speak like this," and they were very surprised, and so that obviously is, they're just people just like us, and the fact that that we have to make films to remind people that other humans are human is like just a topic for another discussion. But we wanted to complicate this issue of what a refugee is. It's, people think that a refugee is someone and you give them food, water, and shelter, and that's all they need, but they need much more. And so I think that might have been the main crux of what we were thinking in the film, was just to complicate this issue of who a refugee is, but in addition to that, to show the strength and resilience of women. So yeah, I think it was an innate feminist approach.
And if you don't mind, I would like to ask part of this question to Sabah too. Thank you. So صباح سألوها لبريجيت إنه ليش أكثر شيء رويتي على النسوان، حبيتي تخبري عن النسوان، وهل أنت حسيتي إنه هذا الشيء فيكي يعني كامرأة إنه تعملي هاد تحديدا تشتغلي مع النسوان، أو الفيلم تحكي أكثر عن حياتهم؟ فهي حكيت جاوبت، بس أنا كمان حابة أسألك، أنا بعرف أوقات سامعة منك هيك أفكار إنه الفيلم تحديدا وكيف فرجى المرأة السورية، شو بتحب تخبري عن هالشيء، عن هالناحية تحديدا، عن ناحية النساء بالفيلم؟
طبعا هي كلامك كله صح، يعني من ناحية إنه فعلا هو الفيلم ضوى على النساء السوريات، مثل ما هي قالت إنه مو بس أكل وشرب، يعني هن محتاجين دعم تاني، إن نحن واقفين جنبكم رغم الظروف، نحن رح ندعمكم نفسيا أكتر رغم كل ظروفكم اللي انتم عم بتمروا فيها. فعلا هن النساء السوريات نحن مثلا نحتاج دعم نفسي أكتر ما يكون دعم هو أكل وشرب ولبس. يعني مزبوط كان كلامها 100%.
خلينا نترجم بالجاء مكفي. So Sabah agreed with Bridget. She said definitely she liked that the movie showed that the Syrian women in the camp didn't only need food and water, they needed a lot of psychological support and social support, and people telling them that they are with them and they are listening to them despite the challenges that they've been through. وبالنسبة للتطور تبع النساء يلي بالفيلم أو اللي كنت عم تحكي لي عنه هذاك النهار، بتحب تشاركي الناس اللي عم تسمع؟
ميري ما اشتدي صوتك راح ما بعرف ليش من عندي.
بالنسبة لأنه النسوان، تجربة النسوان بالفيلم، كنت عم تخبريني أنت إنه كيف تجربتهم، كيف انتقلوا من مرحلة لمرحلة، وكيف أنت حسيتي هيك تشبهيهم. بتحبي تحكي شوي عن إنه تحديداً عن المرأة السورية بالفيلم؟
صح، يعني أول الفيلم مثلا هن كانوا كتير مترددين وخايفين لحدا يحكي عليهم وشو هاي الفكرة المجنونة اللي عم تعملوها، والناس ما كانوا متقبلين الفكرة، بس هن ضلوا مستمرين. وبالعكس حسيتهم صار يعطوا كمان هن أفكار، صار يعطوا أفكارهم، صار يقولوا هاي الفكرة فكرة يعني فيها أفكارنا نحن وفيها شخصيتنا نحن. فعلا يعني هن ما شاء الله عليهم ضلوا مستمرين، يعني رغم كل الناس عارضتهم بس ضلوا مستمرين، وهذا الشيء كتير حلو. هذا الشيء بيعني ان المرأة السورية لما تنعطى فرصة فهي بتكون قد الفرصة اللي بتنعطى لها. انا هيك حسيت، ما بعرف اذا انا صح ولا غلط.
Thank you. So I asked Sabah a follow-up question that what does she think about the woman's experience in the movie and the changes they went through from the beginning to the end. And she said that, yes, in the beginning, the women were very doubtful. They were not sure that they could do this. They were worried what people will say about them and their husbands, the social pressure. But then slowly they started feeling more comfortable. And at the end, she said she noticed how they started sharing their own ideas and influencing even the whole theater play, and to show their personalities more, which she really liked, especially the fact that the movie showed that once the Syrian woman is given an opportunity, she's always up to this opportunity and she uses it to grow and become better. Thank you, Sabah.
Thank you so much. And just to touch on the displacement piece a little bit more, Sabah, if you're comfortable, would you be able to share more about how displacement experience impacted your life positively or negatively?
Sabah and Pam, yeah, thank you. Sorry. عم تسألك بام بالنسبة لتجربة التهجير انه اضطريتوا تطلعوا من سوريا تتركوا بلدكم، اذا انت بتحبي وحابه تشاركي بتحكي بهالموضوع، فيك تخبرينا كيف هذه التجربه اثرت على حياتك سلبيا وايجابيا كمان؟ شو الاشياء اللي كانت سلبيه واذا ضافت لك على حياتك؟
هلا بحب أبلش بالإيجابي بعدين بالسلبي. هلا الإيجابي بصراحة إني يعني عطتني فرصة إني أنا ألاقي نفسي، إني أنا فيني أعمل كتير أشياء وأهتم بعائلتي، وإني فيني أساعد كمان الآخرين، وفيني أدعم عائلتي وأدعم نفسي وأدعم الآخرين. هاي الشغلة اللي فادتني. مثلا صرت أتعلم إنجليزي وتعلمت شوي تركي، صرت أتعامل مع كتير ناس من كتير شعوب، تقريبا بعرف كتير ناس، كتير ناس من عرب ومثلا وهنود يعني هذا الشيء كان كتير شيء حلو بالنسبة لي، ما كان موجود ببلدي. وشيء سيء مثلا اني نحن كنا قاعدين، الحمد لله رب العالمين، كنا يعني قاعدين ببلدنا، قاعدين في بيوتنا، يعني جنبي اهلي، اصدقائي، جيراني اللي تعودت عليهم، يعني العادات والتقاليد تبعتنا. في كتير شغلات فقدناها بصراحة بالغربة، كتير الأهل، كتير صعب لما تكوني بعيدة عن أهلك. هيك بكفي ميري إيه؟
حق علي ما عليكي عم بجرب اكتب تما انسى. ممتاز. Thank you. So to answer the question of Pam about how this displacement experience affected her negatively and positively, she wanted to stay with the positive, to start with the positive. And she said, honestly, it was a great opportunity for me to find myself, to know that I can do a lot. I can support myself, I can help my family, and I can help other people around me. I'm learning English. I learned some Turkish back in Turkey. I now know people from all over the world, Arabs and Indians and all nationalities. And this opportunity I didn't have back home. So I'm grateful for this. For the negative, she said she lost a lot. She lost her home, her family, her friends, her neighbors, her culture, the daily living, all the small things they used to do. She lost a lot, and it's very difficult, to leave your country and be forced to leave and be away from your parents specifically.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, Saba. Now, Bridget, we have an interesting couple questions in the chat. Joseph wrote, the title of the film is interesting. How did you come up with it? Who came up with it? And how does this title summarize the story in relation with the women's lives?
Well,
the title of the film. Yeah. So how did you come up with it, and how does it summarize the story of the women's lives?
The title of the film is We Are Not Princesses, which is a direct quote. Sorry, it's that echo thing again. Sorry. There, you muted. Okay. It's a quote that's revealed in the end during there's a scene, the final monologue. So it's a quote from Mona's journal. And sorry, my sleep deprived brain cannot recall it right this minute, but it's talking about we are not princesses. Had our lives we're just everyday people, and will we be remembered? We weren't remembered in life. Will we be remembered in death? And I loved that quote, and so we took it right from her journal and used that. Who came up with it? I believe it was ATAB came up with it. And it was just a working title for a while. We Are Not Princesses, but we kind of stuck.
Thank you. So to continue on how you produced the film, what were some of the limitations and challenges you faced while producing it?
Well, the main one was funding. As all documentary filmmakers will probably tell you, it's really hard to get a film made, especially one that's gentle and slow and about art and healing, and not about, one crazy war scene after another. So that was challenging. The animation that we used was quite expensive, so that took a long time. So we filmed it in 2014, and it didn't come out at DOCA NYC till 2018. And basically that whole time we were trying to get some funding to finish it. But it was challenging. I mean, I believe ATAB will tell you that it was very challenging to work on this story as a Syrian woman. And but through the project and through getting it seen and seeing how proud the women were to be a part of it, they made it all worth it.
While filming, were there any aspects of Syrian culture that you specifically tried or wanted to highlight and showcase in the movie?
Well, like I said, we didn't really know what the film is going to be about. We knew what we didn't want. We didn't want it to be, 30 women set out to make a play. And then, we followed day by day. We didn't want it to be like about the putting on of the play. And when the women received the script, they came in the next morning saying, there's no way that this was written 2,500 years ago. Like, this is our story. And when we saw how closely the text resonated with the women, we knew that that was the aspect that we wanted to focus on. And so we had that idea, and we kept filming the rehearsals and all the movement exercises, hoping that something would come out of it. I will be honest, I had no idea what film I was making. It's just, we just had wonderful women, wonderful characters, and we thought if we just film them long enough, we'll be able to make a film. And so eventually we became friends with them, and they invited us to their homes. And it was those ordinary moments that really made the film. I say that when I started making this film, I thought of each woman as Antigone, as a heroine. But as I continued to develop the script, I realized that it's not a film about exceptional women. It's a film about how women are extraordinary, how humans are extraordinary, even at their most ordinary moment. And so that's what we focused on, these ordinary moments. It's not one heroine going through a war zone to save people. It's the women who were going through the drudgery of daily lives with their children, and these little battles in their life that got inspired by Antigone, just to take back a little bit of agency and to take back a little bit of their joy. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you. And speaking to that in your relationship with the women, so we have a comment. Jennifer was most impressed by Fadwa, the older mother who had lost her sons. Did you get to spend much time with her? And what about her and her story stood out to you?
Yes, I did get to spend a lot of time with Fadwa. She's amazing. She really is. She is like that. She was the auntie, but she like whipped all those women, and she was the head of the whole crew. And she, they all called her Hajj, so they all, showed a sign of respect. And she was, that line where she says, I think I need to be king. I could do a much better job. This is really illustrative of her personality. So I did get to spend a lot of time with her. She's her daughter Heba is now in Sweden with their other daughter and other son. So she had two sons who were killed, and then she had her other children. So she's been alone in Beirut. She had the opportunity to go to Europe, but her husband was ill at the time. He's since passed away, so she did not go. And it's been hard for her to be away from obviously her children and now grandchildren. But she's part of this knitting club, so I've seen her smiling face more, and she's taking charge of that group as well.
Bridget, did she end up keeping the cat?
Oh, Sushi. Sushi has a sad story.
Let's not talk about it. Let's not talk about it. Okay. Thank you.
Poor Sushi.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And in talking about the women in the film, was there a particular character, woman that you related most to? And either Bridget or Sabah can answer this one. Ray, you're welcome to point the question to Sabah. Is there a character in the film that you felt you related most to?
I'll ask Sabah first, Bridget. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure, please.
Yeah, thank you. صباح في شيء شخصية من هول النسوان، يعني مرة من النسوان اللي بالفيلم حسيتي إنه كتير قريبة منك، أو أنت حسيتي قريبة منها؟
والله إذا قلت لك نسيت اسمها رح تذبحيني.
ما لا قولي القصة وبريجيت بتساعدنا بالاسم.
والله هن في تنتين.
أول
شيء هي المرة اللي كانت عم تحكي عنها اللي انقتل ابنها.
فدوى.
من أمي كتير يعني أمي من نوع مثل هي المرة رغم كل المصاعب بتورجي إن هي تضحك، بتحب تمزح، بتحب تتعرف على الناس. والشخصية الثانية اللي توفى ابنه لأني ما لحقت تعمل له العملية، أو ما لحقت تعالجه بصراحة. هي حسيتها كمان قريبة مني بشخصيتها، إني رغم كل الظروف تحب دائما تجرب شيء جديد، ودائما تتحدى إني أنا فيني أعمل شيء.
Yeah. What's the name of the woman that lost her son to the cancer, Bridget?
Mona.
Mona, yes.
Yeah.
Mona, of course. Yeah. So Sabah said she felt close to two women. Fadwa, the woman that we were talking about that lost her two sons, and Fadwa reminds her a lot of her mom. She always laughs and likes to meet people and is strong, and she jokes all the time. And Mona, the woman that lost her son that had cancer, and she felt close to this character because despite all the challenges, Mona was always open to try new things and to keep going and learn things and grow. Thank you, Sabah. Mona, Isma.
For me, it was Mona as well. We really became close and are still great friends. And her poetic words were just, she's just like an amazing, strong person. And I don't know how she still gets out of bed in the morning and smiles from what she's been through. Like I said, she had a third child, a fourth child after losing Badr. She had another child in 2017, and then last year that child was in a bad accident, and so she has been through so much, but she is the just warmest, most loving person, and she inspires me to. I mean, her joy is amazing. So I'm utterly just impressed by her every time I speak with her.
Thank you. Now this question is for all three of you. Bridget, I'll let you start, and Mireille, you're welcome to answer for yourself, and Sabah, you're welcome to answer as well. And Mireille, you being, working for a resettlement agency, might have some input. But what do you think is the most pressing need for women in long-term displacement situations?
I mean, this kind of work, this kind of a place to for women to build community, a place for them to be able to speak openly and to be themselves and to feel the pain that they can't feel in their other, at home or wherever they are. It's just, I think community is the most important place, a place to process trauma. A person is not going to be whole unless they are able to have that, especially if they have a family. It's a big adjustment to move to a new country if you're lucky enough to get resettlement or to get out of Syria. And so I think, if community and trauma processing, psychological support can be given, that is the most important.
Yes, I definitely agree with Bridget. And that's a big part of what we do at Psychosocial Support Services, is to help women build this community and this new sense of belonging to people and to a group, and create a space where they can have an opportunity to share and to listen, and to also know that they're not alone in this experience, and that together we can all grow and learn. And also, I think education, but education doesn't have to be only like universities. It's all opportunities that we can help women having, from like learning a language to taking the bus to like all those skills, meeting new people, being able to be more independent and go out and grow and discover what they are and what they want to be is also very valuable, I think. Especially that, as Bridget said, when you help a mother, you're helping the whole family, and those mothers are raising kids and raising new young women that will become mothers in the future. So it's a beautiful butterfly effect that can go throughout generations in the future. صباح كانت عم تسأل بام شو برأيك أنت أهم شيء ينعطى للنساء يلي عاشوا تجربة التهجير اللي أنتم مرقتوا فيها؟
ميراي قصدك بينعطى، قصدك يعني نساعدهم بأي ناحية؟ بس
يعني حيلا ناحية، يعني هن بشو أكتر شيء بحاجة على المدى البعيد برأيك أنت، أو شو اللي بخليهم يصيروا حياتهم أفضل من بعد ما تركوا البلد؟
أنا حسب رأيي وحسب كمان أنا تجربتي اللي عشتها كمان بالحرب، أفضل شيء هو شفت البرنامج اللي كنا نشتغل عليه I can do it. يعني هذا الشيء أول شيء بيدعم المرأة اللي عندها يعني اللي عاشت فترة حرب، بيدعم أول شيء نفسياً وبصراحة بعلمها تكون شخصيتها أقوى، وبعلمها كيف إني تتخطى الظروف اللي هي موجودة فيها. يعني لو يشتغلوا على برنامج مثل البرنامج تبعنا بغير بلاد، مثلا مثل لبنان أو غيرها، ما بعرف أنا بصراحة كتير عن البرامج اللي بيشتغلوا عليها، بس بتمنى يكون هيك. بتمنى اني يعلموهم مثلا شلون يدعموا نفسهم.
Thank you Sabah. So Sabah said she thinks programs like We Can Do It is a huge support to women that live the trauma of displacement, because it support them psychologically and also help them be stronger and to grow and learn things and have more confidence in themselves. And she said that she hopes that the refugees in other countries have similar programs, because she thinks that such programs help women a lot.
Thank you for that. And this question is for Sabah. Were there parts of the film you appreciated the most or found really important that it was shared, and you were glad that Bridget was able to share it through her film?
صباح سؤال كمان إلك، هل بالفيلم كان في مقاطع أو لحظات تحسي إنه كانوا كتير مهمين وإنه أنت مبسوطة إنه برجيت فرجتهم بهذا الفيلم أشياء معينة محددة؟
أكتر شيء أثر فيني المرة اللي راح ابنها كانت عم تحكي عن صاحبة القصة، كانت تقول إن هي تعاطفت، يعني كانت تستعمل عواطفها عشان تروح تنقذ أخوها مثلا من الموت، بس بنفس الوقت هي قالت لو فيني أقدر كان أروح أنقذ ابني من الموت كان رحت أنقذته، مع إن هي كانت عم بتقول هديك اللي بالقصة إن فيها تلاقي حل مثلا تاني أو كده، بس هي كمان عاشت نفس التجربة بس من دون ما تشعر بنفسها إن هي صارت بنفس الموقف.
Thank you. Sabah shared that about Fadwa. She said Fadwa, she was saying in one of the scenes that she thought it's good, to have peace and try to find like an agreement, and that Antigone would be like more, flexible and find a solution. But at the same time, in another scene, she said she herself, Fadwa, wished that she was able to go and save her son. So Sabah is saying, like, despite her thinking that this, a solution might be better, her heart wanted to be in a different position and go and save her son the way that Antigone was trying to, honor her brother. Thank you, Sabah.
Thank you. Now I would like to ask to all three of you, and you can frame this question as it fits best for you. If you had to pick one thing you would want the world at large to understand about the refugee experience, what would it be? So Bridget, perhaps if you wanted to answer first, you could talk to your experience with these women and filming, and if there's something you would like to share with the rest of the world of what they could take from your experience doing that.
Sure. Like I said, these women are remarkable in every way, and most notably their ordinariness. They are women just like us who want to go out for coffee with their girlfriends, want to take their kids to the fair, want to, be able to have lives, just everyday life. And I think that is a very much misunderstood concept. We still have a lot of othering and distancing about people from places not in our own backyards. And so I think that I wanted to complicate this notion of what a refugee is and make people question. And when I showed this film in New York, I had someone say, well, Fedwa's apartment is bigger than my New York City apartment. And I was like, okay, why do we need to gather empathy for people who have, less than us, who are, in these more dire situations? Why is it, because these are middle-class people in whatever, are they still not deserving of our empathy? And so it shouldn't be an easy answer of what the situation is. It needs to be complex. There needs to be contradictions. We need to have women with varying voices and opinions and stories. And so I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you. And just to repeat the question for Miri and Sabah, if you had to pick one thing you would want to share with the world to understand about the refugee experience, what would it be?
صباح، إذا عندك شغلة بدك يعني تختاري شغلة بدك إنه الناس كلها تعرف عن تجربة اللاجئين، يعني إذا بتختاري شغلة وبتحبي إنه كل الناس تعرفها بخصوص تجربة اللاجئين، شو هي هالشغلة؟ شو بتحبي تخبري عن إذا بدك تحكي الناس يعني عن هالموضوع؟
قصدك عن تجربة الحرب السورية
بشكل عام، يعني عن اللاجئين. يعني إذا أنت مثلا بدك تحكي حدا وبدك إذا بدك تنقي شغلة إنه تشاركيه أو تخبريه عن هالتجربة اللجوء، شو هالشي بيكون؟
والله مثلا عن يعني بالنسبة لي، يعني قصدك هن يعرفوا شو اللجوء بالنسبة لنا نحن كلاجئين، مثلا شيء معاناة، صح؟
مثلا، أو إنه إذا أنت بدك تخبر العالم، افترض تخيل إنه أنت عم تحكي كل الدنيا كل العالم بدك تشيهم تعرفوا شغلة عن تجربة اللجوء، شو هي هالشغلة بتكون؟ شو بتحب تقولي للناس عن هالتجربة؟
والله هي تجربة سيئة الصراحة ومكيفنا، يعني اجت التجربة مكيفنا، بس قلت لك يعني الحرب هو علمنا كتير شغلات بصراحة، يعني علمنا نكون أقوى. بصراحة الحرب علمتنا نكون قوة، يعني علمتنا صحيح فترات الحرب رجعتنا يمكن 50 سنة لورا، صرنا نخبز على ايدنا، صرنا علمتنا نكون اقوى، يعني فينا نكون اقوى رغم كل الظروف. علمتنا نتحمل الجوع، نتحمل الصعاب كتير. يعني شوفي حتى انا عندي هون ايدي ليكي، شوفي ما هي انحرقت لاني كنت انا اخبز على ايدي، وكان تجربه لي بالنسبه لي اول مره، يعني انا ماني من جيل السبعينات مثلا، فكانت بالنسبه لي تجربه كانت جديده، بس تعلمت وحتى اولادي تعلموا. يعني الحرب فادتنا، يعني ما خسرنا غير بس اللي بنحبهم من الحرب، ولا فادتنا كتير.
Thank you. Sabah is saying that the only thing they lost in the war is the people they love. Otherwise, the war made them stronger and taught them skills that they would never have learned without the war. During the war, for example, they had to do again bread at home because they couldn't afford to get bread, and she showed us like how she burned her hand learning how to bake bread at home, because this is something her generation was not used to doing. And even their kids now learn the new skills of survival and being stronger. Yes, she said like now they're stronger, they can bear hunger, they can bear pain, and they learned a lot of new skills. But the only thing they lost is the people they loved that passed. Thank you, Sabah. For me, if I want to say one thing, I would just say listen to the people, like listen to the people that live this experience so you could get to know them. In Arabic, we have a saying say that you are the enemy of what you don't know. But once you know how to like build relationships, and you discover, as Brigitte was saying, that we're all the same, and that, you know, probably those people, like they didn't choose to, you know, leave and see their friends and families killed in front of them, or lose their kids, people that want to go sit under a tree like Sabah is doing now, or have coffee, or learn something. So what I would like to share is like, talk to people. If you're scared, if you don't know, like Bridget was saying, oh, they wear hijab and they talk like that. Yeah, like maybe talk to someone that's wearing a hijab, or one that came from somewhere else and have a different experience. And you feel that they are not enemy, they're, you know, they're humans, and that we are all as humans anyway responsible of each other. And if in some countries those things happened, it's not because those people wanted those events to happen. It's like a whole higher level that even this country and other countries have part of. So if we understand the bigger picture and we try to listen to those people's experience, I think nobody will remain scared or will feel bad that their apartment is smaller than Fadwa's apartment in the camp in Beirut.
Yeah, thanks to all three of you. So we're just about at time, and we don't have any other questions in the chat, but I'll offer you this space. Bridget, Maria, Saba, is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience tonight?
I did find the quote that I wanted to read earlier, sorry, that I didn't remember, and I'll just read that. It's, had Antigone been the mother of children, would she have done the same? Wouldn't she be afraid and think of her children? Had she not been the daughter of a king, would she have had the same strength and confidence? We are not princesses. No one knows us, nor would say anything about us if we died. Even in death, there is inequality. We are simple, common people. Our deaths will go unnoticed, just as our lives have. And I think that beautiful quote that Mona wrote about the pain of being this ordinary woman just really speaks to the whole complexity of the situation. And thank you both for your work and for including our film in this. I'm so glad. This is why we made this film, and I'm so glad that Sabah, thank you for your thoughts and reflections. I'm really glad this film is being used for this purpose.
Yes, and yeah, thank you, Bridget. I want to thank you for making such movies. I hope there'll be more and more funding for such beautiful stories so we can all learn more about each other. So maybe we will show another movie one day of yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you, Sabah, for joining us. I don't have much to say. I'm just very happy. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Just one more. I'm very happy that the program that we're doing, we can do it, is able to help even a little bit find and build those communities and give this safe, brave space to the woman. صباح دورك. تحبي تقولي كلمة أخيرة؟
ايه اول شيء بدي اقول شكرا كثير لها لأني يعني اهتمت بهذا الشيء. وتاني شيء بدي أقول شغلة، ما بعرف أنا إذا خطرت على بالي الفكرة لازم أقولها، سوري يعني. بتمنى إني شي يوم من الأيام أنا أشتغل مع الأمم المتحدة متطوعة لدعم النساء اللاجئات، مو ضروري بس يكونوا سوريات، حتى لدعم النساء اللاجئات من غير جنسيات، من غير كذا، لحتى أورجيهم إني أنا كنت بنفس المعاناة تبعتكم، وفيني أطلع من التجربة تبعتي بشيء أفضل من هيك.
عظيم, inshallah. Sabah has two things to say. First, she wants to thank Bridget for the movie and for sharing the Syrian experience with the world through her movie. And the second thing she said, she hoped one day she could volunteer with the UN to help other refugee women, to show them that she was one day like them, but she was able to grow and overcome and learn from her experience. Thank you, Sabah. I hope so. They'll be lucky to have you.
All right, well, this is a beautiful note to end on. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, audience, for tuning in and for watching We Are Not Princesses beforehand. And I hope you're all able to take a little gem of wisdom out of tonight. But yeah, thank you all and have a good night.
Thank you.